The experience of failure is one that we as humans should be very familiar with. But it is through these failures that we grow. It is these mistakes and hiccups that teach us how to improve upon our actions and how to move forward. Pretty much any video game that features a game over screen uses this idea of failure as a teaching mechanism. But rather than teaching the player that procrastination on their schoolwork would lead to a poor grade, it teaches the player how to play. A key example of this brutal cycle of teaching through failure comes from the subgenre of roguelikes. Deriving their name from the 1980 game Rogue, they feature a key set of gameplay elements, such as random generation, dungeon crawling, and player versus environment gameplay. The most iconic feature, however, is permadeath, where if the player dies, they are dead. No respawns, no save files, nothing. The character they played as is gone. The only way to continue is to restart from scratch. This forces the player to learn the gameplay mechanics in order to survive longer. If the player can utilize their weapons and resources more effectively, they can overcome enemies and obstacles with minimum damage and maximum reward. Take Enter the Gungeon, a modern shooter roguelike. If the player dies, they must restart the entire game, and each time they play, the dungeon they enter changes. Due to this change, the players cannot rely on getting the best weapon or item, but instead they must rely on their skill. In order to survive the gungeon, a player must learn when to dive roll, which enemies to prioritize eliminating, and when to use their power-ups and items. These games emphasize the skill of the player, and this skill comes from a long line of mistakes. It comes from failure after failure, but these failures exist relatively consequence-free. The player can always play again. There are no limits to the amount of tries a player has. With games, we are given a space to explore, where our actions carry minimal consequences. We are allowed to fail without repercussions, a gift that is far too often lacking in our daily lives. Thanks for watching. Check out the links below to play the original Rogue, as well as other roguelike games. Like and subscribe for more gaming videos.